Hey, all you experts out there, this is the Monetize Your Expertise podcast, where we show you how to use your skills to pay the bills. Have you ever wanted to create a business that positions you as the industry leader and go-to expert? Join me every week to hear from amazing leaders and entrepreneurs who have successfully refined their skills in order to become experts and create extremely profitable knowledge businesses. To find all of the links and tools mentioned in this episode, just go to myepodcast.com. I'm your host, Grant Weherley, the online course guy, helping you every week to monetize your expertise. Hey, podcast listeners. This week, I want to talk about marketing automation. It's something I've been looking a lot into the past several months, and I want to share with you what I've learned. So I know a lot of other business owners who, for example, they either did just get started or maybe went back when they did get started. They're like, okay, I need to have an email list. I need to have some kind of email marketing going on. And they set up Mailchimp because they're not really sure what else to use. It's pretty simple and straightforward. And then they're kind of stuck because they don't realize the real effective way of using things like list segmentation or marketing automation. So let's talk a little bit about what things like Mailchimp are good for and why a lot of people are using that shouldn't be using it. For example, Mailchimp is a great option for people who are just getting started and need only, and I emphasize just only, a simple autoresponder series. It works perfectly fine for doing that. It's what I used when I very first got started, and that was actually after I tried Weber briefly, but I didn't really like it and the way it was set up. And I've only recently, after spending way too much time sticking with Mailchimp, I've just relatively recently moved away from it to explore better options. And I know I'm not the only one in that boat, and so I want to share what I've learned from that process. So with Mailchimp, people opt in, they receive a series of emails, done. That's pretty much it. But the problem is it's missing two entire categories of important internet marketing capabilities. Number one is proper list segmentation. Number two is marketing automation. So some quick definitions are in order, I think. List segmentation can be defined as basically how your lists are organized, because ideally you want to tag or automatically create sub-lists based on what your subscribers actually do. For example, you might want to engage people differently on your email list based on whether they've opened all of your emails versus none of your emails. Maybe you want to send the person who's opened none of your emails an additional email saying, hey, what's up? I noticed you haven't been opening my emails, for example. Or send them an entirely different campaign. List segmentation allows you to know who is who, and also customizing your marketing to them and what they're doing, really targeting it in. Marketing automation is related. So that basically this is automatic engagement with leads or email subscribers based on just about any actual action that they take. For example, that person who just clicked on your consulting page can immediately trigger a series of emails reminding them of a consulting offer that you have, for example. There's actually a lot that you can do with this. It's very customizable and flexible, and there's all kinds of fun stuff you can do with it. But the point is that it allows you to automatically engage your list way more effectively based on their interests and actions. So more or less, list segmentation is the actual organization which happens based on the actions of your subscribers, and then the marketing automation's sort of what happens on your end as a result of that differentiation. Does that make sense? The biggest point is that these two capabilities are absolutely essential to your business. Sort of as a comparison, you may have heard about Infusionsoft, and you might have noticed how really established large-scale business owners rock it. And so you might be thinking about that. You might have wondered about whether that's a good option for you. But I want to sort of talk about that briefly as well, because I know several business owners who have paid tons of money to Infusionsoft without ever actually figuring out how to use it properly. And it's just kind of a pain in the butt, although it's very powerful, but it's very difficult to use. And it's the last number that I heard was it costs several $1,000s to set it up, and then it's several hundreds of dollars per month. That's a lot of money down the drain for something that you can't really use effectively. So in most cases, there are really effective mid-range options, which I would recommend to anyone who, one, isn't a complete and total noob and new business owner, and two, does not have a 7 or 8 figure business with super complicated product lines and funnels and an entire person dedicated to using their Infusionsoft account. So I want to focus on two mid-range options, which I've been testing out recently that I'm really loving. And I want to share with you what I've learned about why I think these are better options for most people who don't fall into those two previously mentioned categories. The two tools that I'm loving are number 1, Active Campaign, and 2, Get Drip. There are other solid mid-range options, but these are the two that I've become most interested in and actually explored myself, so let's talk about them. Both of these tools do all of the really simple stuff that things like Mailchimp and Aweber can do, and they also both have the features, the marketing automation, really effective list segmentation that I mentioned above, and they're just overall extremely effective. They're also both really well designed, they're relatively easy to use and pleasant to use, and I haven't noticed anything that's buggy or really annoying about them. And that's actually saying something because I've actually found a lot of problems with very common email providers and other popular software options, so it's nice to know that your stuff works. So they're both good options, but let's talk about the main differences. Based on my current testing, here's what I've found. Active Campaign seems a bit more powerful and possibly cheaper depending on your list size. It can actually be a little bit cheaper or a little bit more expensive because they're more flexible in their pricing. But it's also a bit more complicated because it's got the additional features. Get Drip can do all of the important stuff that we've already talked about, but doesn't quite have all the same features Active Campaign does, but it's really, really simple to use. It's actually even simpler. It's very guided in the process of setting it up. They can build out autoresponder series for you. There's all these templates that are really interesting that I've never seen before. So really, really good option as well. But back to Active Campaign, I actually really like the visual sort of funnel diagrams that you can set up for the marketing automation, but that's more of a personal preference. So what do these two tools cost? Well, again, as I mentioned, pricing varies more with Active Campaign, but I would say an average user of either tool might expect to pay something along the lines of $49 a month. That's the low tier for Get Drip, and that's also the mid tier roughly for Active Campaign, although there's a lot more options based on your list size. But for Active Campaign, it actually can go as low as $9 a month if you have less than 500 people on your lists and you pick their simple plan. But it's really smart what Active Campaign does. So I mentioned they have a lot of additional features, but they have structured their pricing plan so that the cheaper packages actually just don't have the additional features. So if you don't need it, it's cheaper. So both of these tools are really, really amazing options, and I recommend you guys check them out and compare the differences in the features. Again, they got a lot of great options, both of them, but there are some differences in the features. And again, the pricing structure is a bit different as well. Go ahead and make a decision based on your current business needs. But if you're currently using something like Mailchimp or Aweber, there's a good chance something like this is going to be a lot more effective and will help you grow your business a lot more effectively as well. I'm really excited about both of these, and I'm sure you'll see success with either. To be honest, I'm currently making the final decision about which tool I want to go with. I'm currently leaning a bit towards Active Campaign just because of the additional features which I think that I will want to use. And I also, again, as I mentioned, I really like that sort of visual diagram breakdown which it emphasizes as it's the way the tool is set up. But at the end of the day, again, they're both great tools, and it's mostly up to your specific business needs and your preferences for how your workflow operates. So did I miss any tools that you think are better or maybe should be considered for mid-range email marketing and also marketing automation options? If so, go to myepodcast.com and comment on this episode to share your experience and opinion of either these tools or other tools that you think are competitive options. Thanks for listening. Hey entrepreneurs and experts, I just wanted to thank you for listening to this episode, and I hope you learned at least one new big idea that helps you evolve your skills and gets you closer to monetizing your expertise and creating that successful knowledge business. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on iTunes and Stitcher, and check out myepodcast.com for all episodes as well as the tips and tricks mentioned in this episode. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.